Hello, everyone. It's your girl, Columbia. How are you? I'm pissed the fuck off. Let's get into it. Today, I am joined by my loving partner and YouTuber extraordinaire, the Great Pirate Solomon.
What's up, everybody?
I am tired today. I am so tired. I worked 7 days straight this week. I am completely out of it, but I have a lot to fucking say about my favorite show, some of my favorite books in the universe, A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, if you're nasty. It seems that a lot of people did not like the writing and didn't like the writing in 7, don't like the writing in 8. I once said in a video I never released that the only thing I could predict was that people were going to be disappointed by season 8. And I was right. They are. And it's their own goddamn fault. People have such a fucking surface view of this TV series. It disgusts me how little people understand A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones. It truly fucking does. And I have always hated other Game of Thrones fans because most of them understand it in a way that like a 4th grader might. Right? But I am sure that those people who understand like literary analysis and poetic analysis understand the brilliance of A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones. So what sparked all this was I was going to keep quiet and I was just going to watch the last episode and be happy that something I love is ending well. I wasn't going to listen to the takes. I blocked every fucking person who talked about it. I muted people I love because I didn't want to hear their fucking mouths about their stupid ass takes about how bad the writing is, even though all they do is make tweets. I am so tired of niggas who don't make nothing but fucking tweets. I am so tired of niggas who don't make nothing but boring fucking videos. All right, sit around and talk about writing. Like you write so fucking well. I tell you what, you write an 8 fucking season fucking series, you get 800,000 Emmys. Let's see if you can fucking do it. I bet you can't. I bet you suck. But you think because you're dissatisfied that means that the writing was poor. Well, let me tell you something, my nigga. Just because you find something unsatisfactory doesn't mean it's bad. Maybe your dissatisfaction is your own and it's personal. And maybe you need to check thyself. Everybody for this season has turned into Preston fucking Jacobs and and cannot seem to connect the dots between season 1 and season 8 and understand that Daenerys Targaryen was always bad. And just because she did things that you identify with, just because she did things that were vaguely lefty, just because she did things that you may have liked, doesn't mean she wasn't always a villain. She sat up there and basically let her brother die, and it was all good. Nobody had shit to say. The series was her only family. Hell, Ricardo suggested a better course of action. Mutilate him. Take his ear to teach him respect. Oh, but we love it when she burning people alive. She killing the masters. We love that. That's great.
No one had much to say when she also killed some of the former slaves.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, I gotta light the cigarette, y'all. I'm in the mood.
So, what in particular sparked your outrage today?
Some fucking nitwit wrote an article that I refused to read called "Daenerys Doesn't Have to Be a Feminist Hero." And you know what just angered me? We are still putting women into this box of, you got to be a good person. You always got to be a good person. Got to be a good person. Do everything right because you're a woman. guess what? She's still a feminist hero and she's a fucking villain. Catch that. Because women are complex human beings who can be evil motherfuckers, but still be role models. You know why? Because women have always been considered the fairer sex, and women never consider violence as a way to as a fucking weapon against men. And maybe, just maybe, Daenerys Targaryen's role in fucking literature and in fiction is to get women to consider that maybe, just maybe, we should be committing violence against those men who abuse us. Oh no, don't want to bring that up. That was the thing. In fact, that was the thing that people liked about Daenerys Targaryen. That's why everybody flocked to Daenerys, because when in other people's minds it was morally justifiable and she was committing violence, we were screaming to the rafters like we were a fat black lady in church. Now that we don't find it morally justifiable anymore, oh, the writing is terrible.
People still view Arya as a feminist hero, right?
Yeah, and she's killed some fucking people.
Mm-hmm. Some that probably didn't really deserve it.
Yeah, because all
like,
them.
Did every Frey deserve to die?
No, not every Frey.
Probably not.
We don't even know she killed all them Lannister soldiers just because.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, she didn't, because they mentioned the soldier that was Ed Sheeran being burned by Daenerys.
He didn't deserve to die either.
Oh, yes, he did. Ed Sheeran, yes. Oh,
just
yes.
because he's Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, in Game of Thrones.
That's fair. Yeah. All right.
Daenerys showed us women who have been abused that you don't have to fucking take it. If you've got the power to use violence against your abuser, do it. I'd rather women go down swinging than to be beaten to death by a man. I'd rather you fucking half beat him to death too. Daenerys Targaryen may be a villain, but at least she teaches us a lesson that you don't just wake up one day and you're evil, and you don't just wake up one day and commit genocide. It's a long, slow, emotional process that comes from being a human being born into utter poverty. Mind you, the show doesn't go into the utter poverty, the homelessness that she and Viserys experienced, that the only item of their families that they owned was their mother's crown, and they had to sell it to eat, okay? That they were tools of other people's power just so that they could live, all right? That madness is not something that you just wake up one day and have. That it develops, that it's slow, that you start to believe that you can't be loved and that other people can't love you and that you can't love other people. It's something that develops. And for her, it was something that developed. The Myronese Knot is a great essay on Daenerys's darkness and what she is becoming and what she has become and what she always was. And the best line is that Daenerys's greatest fear is herself, because her fear in herself is her fear of her family's hereditary mental illness. 2, her fear in herself is her fear of her own darkness, of her own violent tendencies. Right? And it's a different type of fear than is the external fear that women experience of other people harming us. And it's the fear of us harming ourselves, of us slipping into what some might call insanity, psychosis, into a space that into a dark mental space that we can't get out of. So instead of having these really interesting arguments about, is she insane? Is she just having a mental breakdown? But she's a human with a lot of power. So she's just, where we have a mental breakdown and we just stay in the tub for a week. She fucking burns down an entire city. Is she insane? Or has she just snapped and maybe she will return to sanity and regret what she's done? Has she always been a sociopath? Instead of having these interesting arguments by extraordinarily intelligent people, it's just D&D can't write and I can't. It's Game of Thrones fans, the show fans in particular, have always been super fickle. From the moment the series started, it was, well, George wrote this. Why isn't what George wrote it's just been bullshit after bullshit after bullshit, and I'm so tired of y'all. Because this is one of the most interesting series that explores so many facets of political life, of emotions, of fear, of cruelty, of feminism, of so many things that we could be having really interesting arguments about, that I sit here and talk my boyfriend's head off about, but I can't fucking have them with y'all because all you want to talk about is how it's not like the fucking books.
The books don't exist yet. Why don't you address what we talked about the other day? Basically, how people saying like this came out of nowhere. Like, I know you've already kind of addressed it, like going back to the early seasons, but you addressed like this season and maybe a little bit of last season, like how there was lead up to it.
There was hella foreshadowing to this. All right. So let's start with 7. Okay. So Danny's conversation with Varys is like, you betrayed me one time. And mind you, the way that people define betrayal, think of the way like Cersei defines betrayal. All right. You betrayed me one time, I'm gonna burn you alive. Wow, Danny. Wow. That's a lot. You're doing a lot. She's ready to burn down the city in like 7-3. She was ready to burn down the city as the original plan for her. She was ready to burn down the city when Tyrion's plans fell through.
And it was only the continued, Tyrion, Jon, Varys continually like holding her back and then convincing her to go fight in the War for the Dawn that stopped that, basically.
Correct.
And then,
mind you, she burned Randall Tarley and without Randall Tarley and Dickon Tarley, or Dickie Tarley as I like to call him, without like the medieval rules. Mind you, okay, let's go back and let's add in a little real life. Medieval rules work like this: if you capture an enemy house's like head of household, whatever, you wait to see if you can get a ransom for them. Okay. Because you can get money, and if you really want to kill him, just kill him after you get the money. You can get it, you can trade castle, you trade whatever you want, land, whatever you want for these two people. She ignores all that. That's part of their universe too. It's actually, the ransom is more in the books than it is in the show, but she ignores all that, burns them alive. Don't even see if they got any other family. Okay. Sorry, baby. Go say repeat what you just said. I'm sorry.
What did I say? Just like, there's, so you've got Jon and Tyrion and Varys and, some other people like, trying to get her to stay her hand and then, let's do this another way. Let's try other things. And there's a lot of failure from them, like a lot of their plans fail. And then they bring her off to the north to fight the War for the Dawn. Which,
okay. Now there's a moment in the War for the Dawn, her music like rises. It's like, da, na, na, na. She's got a little smirk on her face because she's got the Night King corn and she blasts him with that dragon fire. And he come out of the shit and he's just like, you thought that was going to work? Bitch, you there.
Well, before we get to that though, like, she goes north to do this shit. But she first goes north to capture the White.
To save Jon. She knows they're in trouble.
And to save Jon, yeah. Loses a dragon.
Yes, her child.
But then, ultimately, it's successful, more or less, other than losing a dragon. And then they go back to King's Landing and show it to Cersei and all that. And then what happens? Cersei betrays her. So there's next another failure from Jon and Tyrion.
And failure from Jon because Jon queers the original deal by being a fucking stupid ass Stark,
right?
Drinking that dumb bitch juice.
Gotta tell the truth.
Which is so. Oh, I'm tired of you, Jon.
Yeah, Jon could have like prevented a lot of this from happening. He could just give his auntie that dick.
Give it auntie dick. Fucking, which is probably the most anti-feminist thing we said. giving Auntie dick, anything from that to like just being like, yeah, do that, and just keeping his mouth shut.
Yeah. But so you get that, and then we, we're fighting in the north, blah blah blah. Then, during the War for the Dawn, she loses one of her closest friends and confidants and aides, Jorah, who's been with her from season 1.
Like episode 1. She's been, Jorah's been with the Khalasar the whole time. And he was the only, other than, Viserys, he's the only Westerosi.
Mm-hmm.
So she, comes to like, she needs him as a friend. She needs him as a person who's going to advise her about what Westeros is like, what her homeland. Because remember, when the series starts, Westeros is home for her. She wants to go home. Yeah. Continue.
So she loses him. Meanwhile, like, Jon tells her his parentage that, loses her, as you said, her sense of self, her identity.
Yeah, one thing, and I'm going to expound on this, and I thank you for bringing this up because I would have forgotten. One thing that Game of Thrones fans failed to realize, and this really drove me crazy, was Daenerys Targaryen's entire identity from the moment she killed Viserys became, I'm Daenerys Targaryen, first in my name, Queen of the Andals, Roynar and the First Men, Lord of Seven Kingdoms, and Protector of the Realm. She took on Viserys' life because she's always felt guilty, which again in the books is much more pronounced because she thinks about Viserys, particularly when she's in trouble or when she's in pain. She thinks about Viserys a lot. Because she feels guilty about the way Viserys died subconsciously, she has taken on his mission, right? Her brother abused her. She still named one of her dragons after him. She is the queen, and that's her identity. And Jon has now crumbled that. And mind you, this is a person who loves her. Didn't think about this. Didn't think about, you know what? This is going to hurt Dany a lot. Maybe I shouldn't tell her. This is that old argument, should I tell her I cheated on her? And sometimes it's, if you love a person, you love them enough to lie. You love them enough to preserve their feelings.
Jon can't lie.
Sam ain't gonna really tell nobody. Bran
definitely ain't gonna tell nobody.
Bran ain't got no friends. Who he gonna tell? Jon could have at least thought about not telling Sansa and Arya. He could have just told Arya, because what Arya gonna do?
He also could have just not told Dany.
Right?
Could have told nobody. Isn't it enough that you know? Like, all you ever cared about was who your parents are, who your mother was. Well, now you know.
And on top of that, if you don't want the Iron Throne, why you keep telling people? And it played...
Maybe even told Dany later, like, after everything was settled.
Yeah, after she sat on the throne. Yeah.
And then, whatever. I don't know. But, so you get that. He takes basically her sense of self, her identity, her birthright, and then also on top of it is seeming to have a hard time returning her affections.
Because that's his auntie.
Which he never actually says that's the problem. We don't know if that's the problem, really. Because he never says anything about it. He never says
No one ever says anything about it.
Tyrion and Varys say it. They're the only
Dany
ones.
and Jon never address it.
So we don't know what the problem is. We don't know if it's her reaction to when he told her. We don't know what it is. We have no idea. Like, maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Anyways,
I'd still fuck you if you were my nephew.
Right.
Sorry, I would.
So then, after the battle for the Dawn, Arya's getting a lot of the glory because she's the one that killed the Night King, rightfully.
Yeah, Arya deserves it. Hello, she just saved the world.
But Dany's still like up here, committed all of her troops up here, lost a lot of her troops,
Lost her best troop, them Dothraki, though.
A lot. I mean, supposedly, though apparently they ordered more on Amazon Prime. But I guess there was some Dothraki that survived.
All that hope may all come through.
Well, in the next episode, they say like they lost about half of each force. Like half the Northmen, half the Dothraki, half the Unsullied, roughly. But still, that's a lot,
Yeah. Mind you, they all came from Essos. They didn't know, like, think about you a soldier. You don't know this is what you're coming in for.
And you think you're coming in to fight, Westerosi, like,
and you're gonna win that.
Yeah, because they can't fight,
right? It's and Dolly Shaske is smaller, like they can't fight. The men Dollies can't fight. Like you good.
But so yeah, like half of her army is basically wiped out. Her blood riders, like
all of her like personal guard, like the blood of her blood gone. Like she don't really care. Like she don't go to the Empire. She's like whatever.
Well, Grey Worm does the Dothraki, which I thought was kind of cute.
Right.
So she's lost that. Then
and
in the
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
In the banquet scene, everybody is like praising Jon, who didn't really fucking do anything.
They're crowding around Jon. What kind of madman rides a dragon?
And a mad woman rides a dragon.
Bitch,
But honestly, neither one of them did a whole lot in the battle.
Yeah, we talked about
kind of like a non-issue really for the fucking or for the Dawn.
Which you thought it was gonna be like they had a plan, they didn't follow the plan, so that was fucked up. They don't know what they're doing.
But so everybody's praising Jon, nobody's really praising her that much.
Nobody's even talking to her.
Right. She's sitting there alone.
Man. And then would get like when she's like, Gendry, is that it? He's just like, shit. Oh shit. I'm gonna get burned alive.
So then okay, now it's time to turn the armies south and go back and finish this. And then Sansa's giving her shit.
That's what I was gonna go into. So a bitch you just came up here whose life you just saved, who wasn't doing nothing in them crypts. Okay. Mind you, you're out on the battlefield. This is like your 5th battle. A bitch who ain't never fought a day in her life. And mind you, I love Sansa. Bitch ain't fought a day in her life in the crypts for protection around all them dead people.
Yeah, like let's also just remember, like, I just want to point this, it doesn't really factor into the discussion, but like Dany's out there actually fighting. Like at the end, like she's fucking swinging a sword with fucking Jorah. Like that was weird, but
it was great.
It was great.
She's out there fighting. Sansa's over here scared as shit in the crypt with Tyrion. And this hoe is giving you all the ether. Well, we should let our troops rest. Bitch, what? You've been resting. You rested the whole time.
So yeah, so Sansa's been, giving her shit the whole time, but Sansa, clearly this is just reinforcing to her that like no one loves her in Westeros.
Right.
That no one is going to respect her. No one's, and now she knows that there's another option. There's another Targaryen, like fucking. So you get that.
And she senses Sansa's like aspirations. Sansa's like, she's like, Sansa gonna be queen of something.
So they turn south and, fly to Dragonstone and boom, another dragon gone. So now 2 of her children are dead. And then her whole fleet gets destroyed. Loses probably, a good amount of Unsullied with that. Missandei gets captured, her best friend.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Her probably, at this point, her closest person left. Now that Jorah's gone, Jon's like giving her the cold shoulder.
And her closest same gender friend.
Right.
So they talk about things that
her probably only same gender friend.
her only friend, y'all. This bitch ain't got no friends. Okay. Mind you, so that's kind of let's kind of caveat there a little bit, and then we'll wrap it around. Because of who Dany is as Daenerys Targaryen, because of who she is as the mother of dragons, right? This woman who's birthed these dragons, who's become like this, savior, messiah type figure, especially in like the red religion. Okay. She's isolated already. So she can't trust people. Anyone she meets, she can't really trust them. And then her position makes her extraordinarily isolated. So she got one friend. All of her original like handmaidens who were her friends, they died in Karth. Okay. Missandei was all that was left. And now, that was her.
One died at her hand. Let's also not forget that.
Yeah, Dorea died at her hand.
Like when she locked two people alive, in a crypt to die. Again, another one of the examples of her being ruthless.
Right? Y'all can't see my face, my eyes just lit up like, right? Thank you. See, this is why I was like, you want to get down on this? Because I knew I was going to forget hella shit and just get sidetracked. So to loop back around, this extraordinarily isolated person who maybe was halfway trying to make a friend out of Sansa because she just doesn't have any friends.
She did try to make a friend out of Sansa.
I don't even think as an ally. I think just like we're both ladies in power and we just kicked ass. Like,
we both love Jon.
Right? So let's like try to like maybe kick it and braid each other's hair. I think she would have done well to maybe make a friend out of Arya. And that starts with, hey, you want to ride on a dragon? And I'm surprised she and Arya don't have a better relationship because of Arya's because Arya looks up to Visenya Targaryen. And she is definitely more like Visenya. In fact, that parallel worked out well. I don't think I've ever mentioned it on camera, but I've always said that she was more like Visenya than Rhaenyra. And she is. Rhaenyra was the one, Rhaenyra. No, Rhaenys. Rhaenys was the Targaryen sister that everybody loved. She sang songs, she did poetry. Everybody loved Rhaenys. And Visenya was the one everybody was afraid of. She fought, she had dark sister, she had a dragon, and she was a bit, and she was a cold, shrewd political bitch. And Aegon didn't like her. Rhaenys didn't like her. Maegor didn't especially like her. That was her own son. Nobody liked Visenya. Okay. Barely anybody was even at Visenya's funeral. And Dany is Visenya Targaryen to the core. So looping back around, so she's now lost her best friend. Okay. And then.
And her best friend's last words were Dracarys.
Were
Burn
dragon or dragon fire. I would, yeah.
And then we go back to Dragonstone, and she's brooding alone, fucking, you see
out a window, no wine.
And you see her like she looks like a fucking disheveled mess, like
yeah. Well, who she got to braid her hair now?
Right. And then she finds out that Varys is trying to kill her. That Varys is trying to kill her because Jon told Sansa, who told Tyrion, who told Varys. So basically all these people have now betrayed her, in her mind at least.
And they did.
Yeah. So now all the closest advisors that she has left have basically betrayed her. Or at least fucked up.
Well, and you got to add that to just all the supreme, your boyfriend tells a secret that destroys you to people who want to destroy you. And then
someone's trying to kill you because your boyfriend couldn't keep a secret.
Thank you. Right? And then this is just spilling out everywhere. Okay? This was your whole thing. Like, this is what you wanted to do with your life. I can't even. Continue. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But I mean, that's about it. Like, that's the lead up to it.
Right. So you have all of these events.
And there's probably a few other things that we forgot to mention, but you
have all of these events that are just rocking Danny to the absolute core. And she has no family. Other than John.
Who's she fucking?
Right? She has no one. All right. So now you come up with this brilliant plan because now you're down to one dragon, like half your army. Deprivation is always the mother of all invention, right? So she's like, cool, I got this strategy. We're going to do this shit.
Danny clearly had a dragon flying montage in between, learned how to be
Well,
an ace pilot.
One thing that the series has always been about too, kind of subtly, is that because the Targaryens' knowledge about how to use a dragon has been lost over generations. So Danny is flying by the seat of her ass when it comes to what to do with these dragons. Like, there are plenty of opportunities she doesn't use them for scouting. She doesn't use them for, plenty of things that she could have used them for, right? Intimidation, all this shit. I even said to Cookie, like, before, like, when 8 was coming on, that if Danny had been intelligent, what she would have done is just flown all her dragons to King's Landing in, like, early morning and just had them just stand on buildings and roar. And just, because the population would have been so frightened, they'd be like, no, this bitch got dragons. No, it's good. We're overthrowing Cersei. She could have had them overthrow Cersei with that. Have Varys sneak into the city with some little birds and say, hey, Danny's coming. Go to the dragon pit. That's where you'll be safe. Blah blah blah. And then who gonna be like, oh, I just saw a big ass dragon. We not staying here. Danny doesn't understand how to use dragons. So this is a culmination of all of her knowledge. She's finally figured out how to use a dragon in strategy because she has to, because she doesn't have 3 of them anymore. Okay. So that's an interesting bit of writing that people miss because they're too bitchy. Everybody's turned into that bitchy gay from Game of Thrones. And I can say that because I'm Pan. But Cookie can't say that.
Nope. A lot of things I can't say.
So now you get to the point where you have the battle. We've blown the walls, we've burned the Iron Fleet, and this hoe won't surrender. I waited my whole life for this. I've lost everything for this. I ain't got nothing. I ain't gonna have no children. I'm trying to bring these motherfuckers a better world. I'm trying to do all this shit. I'm never gonna be loved. No, I'm never gonna be able to give love. No one's ever gonna be able to love me. You sitting there on the back of that dragon, like, just fuming. Adrenaline up, your blood is up, fought a battle, you done killed men. Man, fuck these Westerosi ass niggas. I'm about to show them what the last Targaryen do. And you just snap. Now, with Cookie and I, and my coworkers have all said, she could have just blown the red, keep the fuck up. That would have been the acceptable option. But she would have killed hundreds of innocents there. Not just inside the castle, the cooks, the people were working to keep the Castilians, people were working inside the castle to keep the castle going, but she would have killed all those people kind of around the castle as she did. So there is sufficient lead up to this moment, right? They wrote it so that she was.
And that's just in this season and last season. Like, you can go back. They did at the very beginning of the fucking episode. Like, that was the cold open. Like, all these things.
It wasn't the cold open. It was the preview. In the preview to this episode, which I normally don't even let play, but we were getting ready and stuff like that. So I was just like, fuck it, we'll let it play. They play all of these voices of people saying kind of snippets of things. The Targaryen alone in the world, terrible thing. And just, what do you think her mental state is? And blah, blah, blah. Just all these things. And you're like, yeah.
And like, fucking Dany said it herself back in season 2. Like, I will take what is mine. with fire and blood, I will take it.
And so all of these things culminate into Dany just ripping this city outside of his asshole. And there is no doubt she committed genocide. That's what that was. Like, we can agree that was fucking genocide. That, by our standards, it was a war crime.
She basically just effectively dropped an atomic bomb on King's Landing.
Right. But now you throwing that analogy in there, you now have to, leftists, of course, would say, well, the United States was, of course, wrong for Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Right? We would say that. Mm-hmm. But history, the centrists who tell our history, don't view us as wrong for that. Mm-hmm. And maybe Dany realizes that when it's all said and done, are the people who write our history really going to say that I was an evil human being for what I did? Probably not.
And it's not like other Targaryens haven't done the same. They glassed Harrenhal.
That's true, but that was just Harren. I mean, we're talking about, like, no Targaryen has ever done this. Ever done this shit. And so an interesting question kind of comes about, which I thought was interesting, and I kind of discussed with Cookie, but Twitter didn't want to have that discussion clearly. Is she insane? Is she suffering from a form of psychosis? Or has she just had like a snap that would, we would have depression, be in the bed, but she got a dragon, so she burned down a city. And if you're in that position, what do you do? If all of those emotional things are happening to you and you're on the back of that dragon, what do you do? Because I'm going to keep it 1,000. Wouldn't be nobody left alive in King's Landing fucking around with me. Wouldn't be nobody alive left. I would have flown that dragon to every motherfucking big castle that wasn't Storm's End and burned it to the ground. Break the wheel.
And I think the writers don't want us to know the answer to that question, whether she's crazy or whether it was a snap that she's going to regret later. And I think that's evidenced. They didn't want us to know now. They'll want us to know in the next episode. They didn't want us to know, and that's evidenced by the fact they never show Dany's face once she starts raining fire on the city. You never see her on the dragon, really.
No, you only
see it in a wide shot.
And you only ever see Drogon. And Drogon is giving her expression. Drogon's just pissed. Which, and that's a kind of another thing. Drogon, it is assumed that dragons have above average intelligence for an animal. Drogon mourns for his mother, who's clearly like really upset. And you see that in the final scene where she's sobbing over Jorah at the dawn, and Drogon kind of just like, you see, like, Drogon's lost 2 of his brothers. Like, that dragon, the connection between a dragon and its rider is deep and psychological, very similar to the connection between, like, Ghost and Jon. I shouldn't even have used that as an example. Very similar to the way that, particularly in the books, that the Starks feel about their wolves and their wolves feel about them. Very similar to the way that wargs, like Varamir Sixskins, and their animals, that deep psychological connection where you can affect its emotions, but it can affect your emotions as well. And we don't know how much Drogon's own grief and upset and sadness affects Dany. But again, can't have these conversations because the writing's so bad.
Now, is it perfect? Has the season been perfect?
No, I don't think perfect.
The one criticism that people levy at this that I think has some basis in truth is it does sometimes feel a little rushed.
Yes.
I feel like both 7 and 8 would have been better if they'd just done 10 episode, 60-minute, you know. So then you have 600 minutes, whereas, you know, this season has, I think, 440 because of the different length of the episodes, like 120 for the last 4. And, I mean, not 120, 80 minutes?
Roughly, yeah.
80 minutes-ish for the last 4 and 60 for the first 2. So I think that's 440-ish. So, you know, would 120 extra minutes in each season help, you know, explore some of these plot lines a little further?
Definitely. Remember that since every season of Game of Thrones, the first 3 episodes are about exploring the political fallout from the last season. Even the first 3 episodes of 1 are about exploring the political fallout after Robert's Rebellion, after the Greyjoy Rebellion, right? So 7, you know what we never dealt with? The fucking Septa Baelor got blown the fuck up.
We also never dealt with the fact that
the Freys are gone.
Wiped out. Nobody ever mentions it.
Yeah, no one even talks about it.
You know, where's Edmure?
Where's Robin Aaron?
Sure.
Where's the Prince of Dorne?
So they did finally address who's in Storm's End,
right? We've been waiting 5 seasons for who rules Storm's End again? We've never addressed what it means for House Tyrell to be gone. We've never addressed what it means for clearly Sam Tarly is he could be reinstated by the king or queen.
He could be the new, you know.
He'll probably be the Lord of
Highgarden.
Yeah, he'll probably be the Lord of Highgarden still exists. So he'll be the Lord of Highgarden.
Unless it's Bronn. I felt that was kind of a little unnecessary too, that whole scene.
Well, now it feels super unnecessary. Right. It didn't then. It didn't to me. It didn't.
No, I feel like it did even then because it just seemed really stupid of Bronn. Bronn isn't usually that stupid. He knows that once he's gone, how's he gonna hold them to this promise? He's holding them to this promise right now. He's got a crossbow pointed at them. But now they're gonna be on the lookout for him. You know, Jaime might, you know, whatever. He's not the queen's hand, but Tyrion, if Daenerys wins, Tyrion's the fucking queen's hand. He's not gonna be able to get another shot at Tyrion.
Bronn
gonna do come to court and be I'm here to claim Highgarden because I didn't kill your hand.
Well, but understand too that I think it was necessary. I think it was not necessary, but I certainly think it wasn't superfluous because because he can now come to court when Dany is queen and Tyrion can vouch for him.
But would he? You just held a crossbow to my fucking head.
But he knows Bronn. They've been fucking pounding around since season 2, dude. He's gonna make sure Bronn he's in a position to make sure Bronn gets paid or executed. And I think at this point, Bronn is just I want to get out the city from Cersei. And Jaime and Tyrion are still his best shot at getting paid. That's a lot of money I just gave you. There is no more High Septon. You know,
I feel like the fate of the Seven is just pretty much done.
It's been decimated. And that's why I always predicted that there was going to be a big, I was really disappointed that there wasn't boats full of people from the Red Religion, because it was my thing that my prediction had always been that the Red Priests were going to come in as the battle was sort of going the way of the dead and sort of come in and save the day a little bit, because they were going to be the ones who told the story of how the Battle of the North went, and they were going to become the new religion of Westeros, which would also help Dany as the, queen of Westeros. Mel, who did the most list I saw, and I agree, went Arya, Mel in terms of who did the most for this battle.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mel's like, I'm done. Bye. I don't live no more. Great. I was proud of Melisandre. Always been my favorite character. Did not care that she burned Shireen. You know why I didn't? Because if we thought for a moment, leftists can sit up here and say whatever fuck they want about morals and all that shit, because leftists be morally as fuck. If you thought killing Bill Gates' kid was going to bring about the socialist revolution, and by the end of it, we'd have communism, you motherfuckers would be up there knocking down his door so fucking quick. If you thought killing one child was going to save every other child on this planet, you do it. And we didn't have that same moral quandary. Now, Melisandre believes this is the case. Melisandre believes killing this child is going to save the world. Jon just kills a kid because he kind of resents the kid for murdering him. We don't talk about that, though. But let's loop back around to our original conversation. We talked about how the writing did lead into this. We talked about that. In terms of the writing being bad, I think that a lot of people overlooked a lot. And one thing that people hated in 7 that I never got a chance to address, or I just didn't address, I shouldn't say never got a chance, I got plenty of chances, was that the writers did a really good job of addressing Sansa and Arya's relationship. These two people who have not seen each other since season 1, who didn't get along then, who didn't know each other then, don't know each other now. So their suspicion and all that stuff made a lot of sense. Everybody else is like, why are they so suspicious of each other? Why are they arguing with each other? And it's like, bitch, you watch the show. You know what has happened. They don't. My guest star has walked off. He's going to make coffee. He's on strike. So I think the writers have actually done an excellent job in addressing what they could have addressed in these last 2 seasons, right? So many people are dead that a lot of these storylines died with them. And the relationship between the relationship between Brienne and Jaime and the way it ended, perfect. Like the Brienne out here in her house coat begging. Brianna Tarth.
So one of the things people talk about a lot is character arcs and themes and things like that.
Baby, you gotta get closer to the mic for all this.
A lot of people talk a lot about character arcs and themes and how like these last couple seasons have like betrayed all these character arcs and themes and whatnot. And the problem with that is that George Martin writes, in magical realism. Life doesn't always go according to your character arc and the thematic things that you're trying to get across. Like, sometimes people do start a redemption arc in real life, and then it doesn't finish out. Like, sometimes people are, I'm going to go back to being the asshole I was. Like, that's how life works. Like, life isn't a story. Like, obviously this is a story, but like George Martin writes in a realistic style where, people have complicated fucking emotions, complicated fucking
relationships.
Right. And it's not always going to tie up in a neat little bow. Like, and again, if you were expecting a happy ending,
right,
you haven't been paying attention.
That and he said he wanted to crush our souls, yeah. And he has. He and D&D and all the writers of A Game of Thrones, mind you, they were the showrunners and executive producers. They are not the writers of this show.
They do write some of them, I believe.
Yeah,
or they're part of the writing team, whatever.
This show is extraordinarily complex. Like, when you typically now, when you,
I'm not sure how they write because they speak very stiltedly.
I I don't think they write so much as they like do story. They storyboard it. They do the organization for the stories. And they kind of just go, yeah, and they just kind of thumbs it up.
You don't want to be on the business end of a dragon.
When Danny gets on we want to show it from the business end of that dragon. I was like, what? Huh? Listen.
So the other one doing spin was pretty good.
I'm gonna say it, dude. I'm gonna go and say
Danny's gonna do some things that are, I forget what he said exactly.
Danny's gonna do some things that aren't pleasant.
That are regrettable.
He didn't say regret. He said not pleasant. I'm like, nigga, she committed genocide. The fuck you mean? That man, when we have the revolution, my nigga, he our propagandist. Because that nigga can take genocide and turn it into, some things happen.
It's unpleasant.
It's not good, but it happened. Like, god damn, brother. Cares. Listen, you think Danny don't care about the people of Westeros? That nigga really doesn't. So I'm stealing his coffee just for a second. I just want to sip. Oh god, it's so hot. So we don't know what Danny's real mental state is yet. We're all still waiting for 8. But in terms of the title, what I hate about, I've always hated other Game of Thrones fans, and Cookie's here, you can attest to this. I've always hated other Game of Thrones fans because they view this from a narrative perspective. They want to see the hero's journey play out. And when it doesn't, when everything goes left or right, it's the writing's bad, blah, 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 even though they couldn't write their way out of paperback. Mind you, I'm a person who took screenwriting classes, took creative writing classes, was an English major for most of my college career until I switched to political science. I'm a person who very much loves language. And A Song of Ice and Fire and A Game of Thrones are beautiful in that you could sit there and do poetic analysis. What's the denotation, the connotation? Are there any metaphors or simile here? You can sit here and do all the poetic analysis on those works, and have a fun time just talking about the use of language. You can do visual analysis. There was a video up on my timeline right now that is from Vox about how the costuming explains people's levels of power. There are not just in terms of thematic, there are so many conversations.
Don't these people know they need to hide their power level?
Right.
Just to jump in a little bit on that, one thing people also have to realize is that this is television. This is a visual medium.
Right.
Not everything that you can do in a book translates well to a visual medium. Like, one thing I saw someone bring up, and it isn't like directly applicable. I mean, it kind of is, but they were talking about when Dany is lost in the Dothraki Sea, like at the end, her last chapter in the last book,
right?
And then comparing it to the TV version. And, in the book, it's this kind of intense, like, internal psychological like drama, and she's like shitting on herself and
right,
but having this like kind of almost like Vision Quest type thing.
She is that's another moment where she thinks about Drogo, Viserys, the people she's lost, her family, the dragons. Like she has this similar to the fever dream she has when she's with the Dothraki and pregnant.
It would be real hard to translate that into television.
Right.
Well,
and especially remember that Game of Thrones is not a show where they do internal dialogue, they do flashbacks, they do like in your head shit. So there's no way to do it without it being really standout and weird. And like she's super hungry. She's I think she's eating, if I remember correctly, she's like eating grass. She maybe cops some of that psychedelic in there. Like, you can't translate that. You know, especially the crap part where she like craps herself. Like that's not
Amelia Clark just shitting all over herself.
right. You can't do all that.
Hey, we've shown all sorts of things on this show. You can show anything on Game of Thrones.
Nobody has crapped. I mean, people pee themselves. We haven't seen nobody crap themselves. So yeah, I continue. I'm sorry, but yeah, you're right.
That was about it.
You know, so you know, videos about how the costuming shows people's power levels. Everything from you can you know make an analysis of everything on the sets and you know their comparisons to their real you know to their medieval actual life equivalents. How these storylines parallel actual history. Then you know, and then even when you're done with that, you can start talking about where they parallel our present day and where the themes dovetail into real political life and social theory and economic theory. Like at this point, you know, A Song of Ice and Fire is one of these works, and I've always said it, is one of those things that kids should read in school. Kids should not be reading. You don't appreciate Shakespeare until you're older, you've had some experiences, and then you read Romeo and Juliet, be like, your kids is dumb. Game of Thrones is one of those things. A Song of Ice and Fire is one of those things that if kids read it, they would actually have a better understanding of literary analysis because of it's such a dense work, both the television show and the books. And so why I hate Game of Thrones fans so much is because this is such a deep work. This is a Dune-esque epic work. And people get really lost in the minutia. You know how many fucking videos there are about who's Azor Ahai? Do you know how many fucking videos there are about how Bran is the Night King? That people
There's gonna be a whole bunch of new videos now about how like the Valonqar is a fucking bunch of rocks.
Which rock is the little brother? People get very lost in that, but they don't have the deeper discussions about feminism, autonomy, violence, about medieval history, about costuming, about so many other, you know, symbolism, about so many other things that are so brilliant and beautiful about both Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire. And to me, it's indicative of an undereducated population that doesn't have the ability to have those conversations. It doesn't want to.
Some of these people do have the ability to have these conversations, but they just seem to want to jump on the hot take bandwagon.
That too.
It's easier. And because like their pet theories have been shot, so like they're pissed about that.
That's one of the reasons I recorded a whole bunch of theory videos I never put up because I was just like, man, I don't really want to go through it when they don't come true.
We both had theories that didn't come true this season.
Oh yeah,
and you know we're still fine with it.
I love 8. I loved 7. I have one of the only things I brought from California with me was the 7 DVDs. Like I have 7. I couldn't find 6, but I have 7. Like I love Game of Thrones. I will always love Game of Thrones. And if 8-6 is Dany pooping her pants and fucking losing her goddamn shit, great. I'm happy with it because I can go back and watch this whole series at any point, and I will be buying the whole series. I can go back and watch this whole series at any point and not only find new things, but find things that I can talk about endlessly. This is TNG for me. Like we were supposed to watch Chernobyl. I was like, oh, let's watch either like Succession or Chernobyl tonight, right? And we just watched TNG and just made fun of it. Like that's Game of Thrones. We're gonna have seen it so many times. We'll be like, you stupid bitch, Cersei, why your hair so long?
Which we still need to find a way to like get around the censorship for putting up TNG so we can like do TNG episodes together. True.
So I've always hated Game of Thrones fans for that. And, you know, I've had, you know, there are a few people I love. I've had conversations with Mike Rollins, Christy Winters. We've had some really good in-depth conversations about Game of Thrones. I think a random geek was there. I've had some good conversations with Game of Thrones fans that I've super enjoyed, and those people that I have talked to, I love them. So this isn't about you. Charlotte should have led with that, but this isn't about you. But I've had to mute people and like mute the words. Like I've muted damn near every character's name. I've muted damn near every fucking Game of Thrones reference you can have because I don't want to see these hot takes are just pissing me off. This is just people wanting to fucking get those likes and not thinking about what they're saying. And like I said, this has just become everyone is Preston Jacobs. Preston has been this asshole the entire series. Go watch Preston's videos. He's an asshole the whole time. And when you watch it and then think, but no, this scene explains that scene. Like, if you think about his criticisms for 30 seconds, you realize they're all bullshit. Cookie knows now living with me that, like, I just watch Preston Jacob videos to be mad before work. So it, like, motivates me to leave the house.
And she yells at the video.
I do. I yell, like... Mm-hmm. He's done it too, though.
Yeah, he's pretty dumb.
Yeah, he's been so outraged by it. He's just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's like something like, did you watch the show? Did you just watch like a best of reel? Like, because there was that scene right before it.
So I think Rob and Aaron will live through this, which will be amazing, right? Robin.
I don't think we're gonna see Rob and Aaron again.
No, but the fact that he lived through all the major events of A Song of Ice and Fire, and he's just been sitting in a castle, which is probably the best.
Or some titty to suck on.
Right.
Some milk.
Give me some of that moon milk, bitch. That's one of Preston's actual predictions that actually came true, that Rob and Aaron would survive everything. So he will. I think Gendry will live through this. Whether Arya does or doesn't, I'll like I said, I don't really care. Once Mel died, that was it for me. I don't care who lives and dies now. Sansa's my bitch. I've been telling people Sansa's gonna make it.
Sansa might be the new queen of the Seven Kingdoms.
I think she will be. I think Sansa.
I think Jon and Dany are both dead.
Yeah. I will say this. Here's my little prediction. Arya is gonna kill Jon, wear his face, and kill Dany.
That's a bold prediction.
It's gonna not come true, but I don't give a shit. I'm saying that. I am impressed that the Arya being the one we track through the. I mean, I was screaming. I was upset. This one can tell you. I was like, oh, she's dead. Oh my god, they didn't kill her yet. How that, just like Arya being in the city, how we track on her face the resentment she builds toward Dany, that like she knows it's Dany causing all this shit.
I think one thing we can all agree on, like even the people that have problems with the writing have said, like, on a cinematography level, this episode was amazing. Oh,
the cinematography. This like 7 and 8 have just been off the fucking charts. All of the technicals, the everything from the sound, cinematography, everything, lighting, everything has been amazing. Like they're gonna get all the awards and they deserve them. It has been brilliant. It's been absolutely brilliant. And
I mean, a lot of people hated the cinematography in the War for the Dawn.
But that was the best part.
Like, it's dark. I can't see nothing.
There was a cute take that I don't think was a rib, but I think was just like a cute take of 60, what was it, like $100 million budget for Game of Thrones, scene lit by one slender candle. Like, I thought that was cute, but I think the lighting is purposeful, right? It's the War for the Dawn.
Well, it's also winter at Winterfell in the middle of the night. Yeah, no shit, it's dark.
Right.
Like, it's supposed to be dark. The only light is candles and whatever other fires and torches they got going on.
And the trench is a light, right?
And then the fucking Night King brings a fucking storm. So yeah, it's gonna be, there's no moonlight, there's no stars, fucking, it's dark.
And
again, so, we'll take that to literary analysis. The darkness is about the battle. The darkness is supposed to symbolize a darkness sweeping over Westeros, the night that never ends, the death that, death never ends. Death is the only part of life that is effectively endless. So the darkness is symbolic. But again, Game of Thrones fans, the only people, and I'm going to kind of cut it off on this. I will only take takes from Black people on Game of Thrones from now on, because at this point, Black people are having fun with the parts that are a little but they're not like, they're raining. Every college-educated white person, they're raining, but I'm a fucking sociology major. They're raining. But they're not appreciated. But you watch the Black guy who tips. You hear like Rod and Karen talk about it, and their analysis is spot on, and they understand the story. But apparently, nobody else does. So I'm only taking takes from Black people. All right, it's bad. I'm on Dim Thrones. That was the only hashtag I didn't block, because I know it's going to be good. The takes are going to be funny. It's not going to be this whining that has happened for an entire season because your pet theory about Melisandre being the Night King didn't pan out.
I saw a few whiny posts on Game of Thrones, but by and large, it's much better than the general consensus.
It's much more fun. Like, what happened to having fun, dude? Everything has to be the way everybody wants it, and I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of whining and not just being like, this is what it is. I either don't like it or I do. But my personal opinion doesn't mean that the product was bad.
I also love the people that like season 7 was horrible, season 8 horrible, but they still keep watching every fucking episode.
It feels like an obligation. Nigga, listen. You're more obligated to watching Game of Thrones than you ever been to visiting your grandma in the home. How about do that? How about on Sunday night, instead of fucking watching Game of Thrones and bitching about it on Twitter, you go visit one of your elderly grandparents. You can bitch about them on Twitter. Oh, Nana still says nigger. I can't do this. So, this was my first video with my boyfriend on my channel. I'm very happy. This is my first video in a long time that I'm actually going to keep up. It's been hard. I wanted to break the spell. It's been really hard for me of late, guys. Just that work-life balance has been really hard to keep. But I'm happy to have broken the spell. We're going to be doing more shit. We've got all kinds of shit coming up. We've got a
Game of Thrones cooking
We've got
video.
Game of Thrones cooking video coming up.
Be on both of our channels. Keep an eye out.
I'm going to upload that footage today because it's my day off. So, yeah, it's been great. I appreciate you, Great Pirate Solomon. I love you. And that is going to be the end of this. So.
I love you, Your Grace.
So. I'll be seeing you soon. Good night, good morning, and good afternoon. Vala Mogulis, my love.
Solomon out.
He didn't even say Valadoiris. I hate this nigga. Let's try that one more again, shall we? God damn, we can't get this together. You know what? Fuck it. Goodbye, y'all. You see? This is why I make videos with this motherfucker. This is exactly why. All right, I'll be seeing you guys.